Welcome back and welcome to Talk of the Nation. Now this week, the Constitutional Court issued a ruling showing the full intent of the judiciary to show how far it is willing to deal with officers of the court who delay to issue rulings, thereby expanding the case backlog. Now the matter saw the court calling for the retirement of a Chief Magistrate, John Agaba, who had taken 8 years to deliver a ruling. Now, earlier, the Chief Registrar cancelled Christmas holidays for all judicial officers who have over 606 rulings pending delivery following the end of the trial. So where is the judiciary going to go with this stance? Well, to help us understand what is going on, we do have JAMESON KAREMANI, a spokesperson of the judiciary. Good evening, sir, and welcome to Talk of the Nation.
Thank you very much for having me, and good evening to you.
Yes, well, we would like to start with, first of all, understanding what case backlog means.
Case backlog, in our case as Judicial of Uganda, it refers to that case which has been in our system for 2 years. So we count from the day the case was registered in our system up to, if it is above 2 years, we call that case to be a backlog. That is the standard that we set on us to help us understand that if a case has stayed for this long, it is a backlog, and therefore it is a case that we must prioritize to have concluded. Of course, different countries have different definitions of backlog. Some have 6 months, depending on their level of efficiency. Others have 1 year. But on our case, we realize that if we put it at 2 years is what we can manage because of various impediments that we face. Yes. Okay,
now the Chief Justice has been very vocal about cutting back on the case backlog, but how is this going to be handled given the fact that there are more than about 40,000 cases that are still in court? You know, and also the Chief Justice points out that upcountry courts and the Supreme Court are actually topping the list of the courts that are having issues to do with case backlog.
Case backlog, of course, as an institution, we take it to be a serious issue which we have to consider tackling. And that's why in every address by the Chief Justice, he refers to the same. People file their cases in courts and they want them to be disposed. So if they delay, that is one of the things that we face that cause people losing, they lose the trust in our system. Because I filed the case and it has taken all this long, it means that the system is not operating properly. So the Chief Justice takes it as a serious issue, and that's why he always cites that issue every address he makes. And he goes ahead to cite the causes, the major causes of why cases delay in courts, and he goes ahead to cite the possible solutions which he feels if they are addressed, we could be able to deal with case backlog.
Maybe we could start with the causes.
Now, the major cause of the case backlog is the lack of human resource. Human resource in terms of judges, in terms of magistrates.
But there's been a recruitment that has been happening.
Recruitments have been taking place, and of course we appreciate them and welcome them. But when you look at the recruitments that are being done vis-a-vis the required numbers that are there, you realize that we still have a long way to go. If I give an example of the High Court, whereas we require to have 150 judges of the High Court, right now, we have a half of that number. So that means we are operating at a half of what we require. And cases which should be handled by 150 judges are being handled by less than 80. So that means every judge is handling work of 2 judges. And that makes a very big burden for him. He cannot be efficient. If he would have finished 5 cases, let's say in a week, because there are many, he will just finish like 3 and others remain. If there was another judge, he would have handled those other cases, and then the backlog would be handled. Of course, there are a few other causes apart from the human resource. which come in. There is also a human element. He has always cited of some judicial officers who may not working hard, and he has always called for ways of dealing with such. So those are also there.
Yes.
It is a small component that is there also, but the major cause is the limited number of human resources that we have. Yes.
Let's use the case study of John Agaba, who has taken 8 years to deliver a ruling. Isn't it just an issue to do with discipline, where probably some people or some of these judicial officers, you know, come in late for work, others just handle a few cases here and there, and that is how the case backlog comes, you know, to take place. Yeah,
that's why I've said apart from the numbers that are not being there, there is also an element of the personal conduct of our officers, like that case you have cited. Because the law, according to the law, when a case has been heard and completed, a judicial officer is given 60 days to have delivered the judgment. Now, if a judicial officer takes 8 years, that's why it becomes a disciplinary issue, because the law gives you 60 days. You cannot give an excuse for having spent 8 years without delivering such a ruling or a judgment.
Right.
There are some explainable period that you can have. If you have delayed for, it is given 6 months, maybe within 4 months, within 3,
it should have
5,
been.
there you can make a case. But 8 years, it becomes a disciplinary issue, and I think that's why the action had to be taken.
Well, the registrar cancelled Christmas holidays for all the judicial officers who have about 606 rulings.
Yes.
How serious is it?
Now, I think that that issue I have heard about it, but it was it was quoted out of context, because I was there when he made that statement, and it's not the chief registrar. This was a registrar of magistrates affairs who was making a presentation in the annual registrars and magistrates conference, and his statement was, it would be good for the judicial officers to go for their Christmas holidays when they do not have some delayed judgments and rulings. He was giving it in that context, that it would be good, not that he decreed that those who have not delivered rulings or judgments will not go for Christmas.
But that's then what he said, can it be achieved? Handling these cases before we broke off for the festivities. He was
really imploring those who have to see how they work hard and ensure that they deliver those rulings. It may work because the time is short now, but in that context, if they worked hard, it would also be good for them to do that.
Okay.
Yes.
In your view, what do you think could, as we get to summarize this, what do you think could be done to actually handle this situation of case backlog? Now,
what could be done, we are happy that the government is trying to address some of the issues to do with numbers. Recently, we received 16 judges of the High Court. With magistrates, we have really been recruiting very good numbers. We have opened various courts. Almost every district has a grade 1 magistrate. And more recruitments are actually upcoming. They have advertised some posts. And come next year, we hope to get more numbers. So one of the solutions is to keep adding the numbers of judges, the numbers of magistrates.
Okay.
As we also work on other components of discipline to make sure that the ones we get, they don't relax, they work very hard and ensure that they are utilized to deal with backlog. To also bring in technology, and we embrace technology to help us in becoming more efficient. So with that, we think that we look at the future being bright. We are moving very well. Yes, we are moving very well.
All right, so finally, what about Justice Ruby Opio Aweri of the Supreme Court, who breathed his last this week? Also, that makes him the first Supreme Court judge to actually pass on in office or while on duty. How do you remember him?
Justice Opio Aweri, like the Chief Justice announced, passed on the 7th of this month. And he had served for a number of years because he's a judge. He started as a magistrate grade 1 and rose through all the ranks up to the Supreme Court judge. He has been one of the justices that are hardworking. He's remembered for his discipline and hard work. So it is a very big gap that he leaves. And of course, we pray that his soul rest in eternal peace. We await the program which will be announced by the National Organizing Committee on how he will be sent off. Yeah. All
right. Thank you, Mr. JAMESON Karemani. He is the spokesperson to the judiciary. We hope that by when the festivities come, you people will be able to enjoy. You know, it's good to go to the festive season, you know, without a lot of work in your head. Well, we do take a break, and NTV Weekend Edition continues shortly.